I'm going to start this video where I left off with the last one. If you're curious to see that, I will leave a link in the description. But got a Everlast 256. God, why do I always forget? 256 SI that was acting up and giving me problems while you were welding. It would cut out and essentially like reboot the display on it, but the fan on the welder and the water cooler would continue running just fine. Pulled the covers off of it, blew the dust out of it and what have you, kind of had to poke around, didn't find any loose connections or anything. And today is tomorrow, and I spoke with Everlast today. I don't actually remember the name of the guy now that I talked to, but very, very helpful. He seemed to like really seriously know his shit about these welders, not just some jackwagon reading off a script. He seemed to be particularly familiar with these, which was fantastic to talk to. And talked to him about a couple things, checked a couple things, didn't find anything wrong with it. You know, last night was welding with it and it was doing just fine. It's weird for me to think that, you know, there being a slight amount of dust on the inside of the welder would have caused that issue, but maybe, or maybe it was just completely and entirely a fluke. I don't really know. But if something does fuck up and act up again, then I'll dig into it further and call that guy back at Everlast. At least the guy that I talked to today at Everlast was honestly more helpful than when I have called Miller in the past with problems that I've had with my Miller welders. So that was phenomenal to get someone that was that helpful and that knowledgeable on the phone. So yeah, you can see, you know, got it put back together, put back in the cart. I was welding with it, I don't know, for maybe an hour tonight or something like that. And throughout the day today, I had turned the machine on and just let it idle for a little while. And it probably ran for, you know, was turned on, if you will, for maybe 3 hours or something like that today. And it never once acted up. I was just doing a bunch of random bullshit on the scrap metal that I have here and burned however many rods that is there. Stick welding, obviously. And then I just fucked around a little bit with the TIG portion of it, and it was doing just fine with that as well, too. I certainly learned a couple things from this. I now that I've had this welder and this water cooler for a while, I kind of like forgot, if you will, how much nicer a water-cooled torch is versus an air-cooled. When this thing acted up, I switched over to using this welder here, but I don't have this one set up to run off the water cooler, so I had to use a air-cooled torch on that, on a size 17, like the smaller size Superflex cable, and oh, what the fuck do they call these now? What does CK call this? Fuck. Anyways, this style torch that has the like interchangeable head on it. I can't fucking remember now. But this one here, being the water-cooled version, will take about 200 amps continuously on that water cooler there. The air-cooled version will get hot enough that it'll, like, you know, start to hurt to hold on to at, honestly, even 80 amps continuous or something like that. So, yeah, the water-cooled torch is definitely pretty sweet. And how I was talking about in the last video that I really want to get a 315 LX, I believe. Considering that I had this problem with this welder now, and I was down my water-cooled setup, and I had to go to the air-cooled, I'm for sure going to now get the 315 LX and another water cooler just to act as a backup. Um, in case either one of these breaks down or, hopefully not, but if, one of these were to get damaged or something like that, it'd be really nice to have a redundant setup with that. But I guess kind of walk away from it here, but still video it just in case something fucks up or whatever. But yeah, I was welding with it for about an hour today, and everything was doing great. On one hand, it's really concerning, if you will, because there's not, I didn't find a definitive reason why this thing was fucking up. But on the other hand, I guess obviously it's a good thing that it is working now. It's nice when you can definitively verify a complaint or diagnose a problem, if you will, rather than something like this where it's like, well, I really didn't do anything, but it is working now. But the dude from Everlast was extremely helpful. Hopefully other people's experiences are just as good as mine was today talking to the guy at Everlast. And this is actually really it's the first problem I've had with an Everlast welder. That other one that I have on top there, I've had that for about 7 years now. And that one I actually have primarily used as a stick welder, and gone through several 100 pounds of stick rod with that one, and done quite a bit of plasma cutting with it and not too much TIG welding. But that thing has been absolutely flawless for the 7-ish years that I've had it. So one little minor hiccup, if you will, with this welder here, but other than that, Everlast has been pretty good to me so far.